this would also be tilt to him. North Carolina would lean because I don't think Pence is a very strong candidate and he would not do that well in that particular state. Likely, and then Maine 2nd District. The reason I do it like this is because for the people who are skipping to the end, by the way, please watch the whole video, that's nice. But for the people who are skipping to the end, I like to show the margins. I don't want them to think, what, this is all safe. Why didn't he show the margins? Because I did if they had just watched the whole video. Okay, one last final note. Subscribe. It helps me out a lot and it's free. It's free. You don't have to pay anything, and if you start and you can if you change your mind, you can unsubscribe anytime. So do it. Hit that subscribe button. Hit it. And make sure to have notifications on and share my videos. That would be super helpful if you shared, if you subscribed, and had notifications on. And if you liked this video, please actually hit the like button so you can show people that you liked it. And even better, comment. Don't just dislike if you disagree with the result. Comment. Tell me why you disagree. Also, make sure to check out our partners and our election friends. There you go. Thank you for watching this video. This video was not sponsored by anybody. I think Ted Kennedy? Which one is it? Let me see. Hey guys, welcome back to today's video, and I know it's been a while that I've recorded a video because I've just been really busy. So in today's video, we're actually, oh, by the way, thank you guys a lot for 89 subscribers as of time from recording. Come on, together, we can get 100. Let's get 100. That would be very nice if we could get 100. So this video was suggested to me by President Greenwater, who will raise my taxes. I'm joking. By President Greenwater, yes. He is one of our earliest subscribers. You can do that, by the way. You can tell me, I want this video. I'll probably do it quite soon. His video idea was delayed because I was, again, really busy. So, but now it's here. So his idea was, what if Theodore Roosevelt won in this election? So I'm assuming he meant it would just go like a little something like this. Actually, no. Better. Well, no, of course it won't go like that. But basically, he somehow wins. I couldn't see how that would happen due to vote splitting, but he somehow does. And now we are going to see what happens in the 1916 election because the incumbent is suddenly Theodore Roosevelt. So let's see, presidential county. I'm going to go to, so it's 1912 election. We need to go to 1916. So we're here in 1916, and due to the war in Europe, Theodore Roosevelt would have most likely declared war. He most likely would have sent U.S. troops. He would most likely be the Republican nominee despite having made the Progressive Party. And Theodore Roosevelt would have probably been faced up against Woodrow Wilson again, but this time Theodore Roosevelt would have won quite well, actually. He pretty much would have, it would be actually a really good victory for him. This would probably be the final electoral map. Well, not the final. This would still go like that, that. This would most likely be the final electoral map. Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson. Theodore Roosevelt re-elected due to the war in Europe, and the war is going well. So now we go all the way, not here, map. So then we go away from 19, 16, and we go to 1920. So 1920. We are in 1920 right now, and Warren G. Harding, his return to normalcy will probably still appeal to a lot of voters. This would probably still be the election. So there you have it. I wouldn't put any changes, but the war would go on longer, so Harding would do better. He'd probably enough to win Kentucky. So then another Warren Harding elected president. The Ohio gang scandals still happen. And Calvin Coolidge, I'd say in this alternate reality, Calvin Coolidge would feel an urge to run for another term. Because, like, Robert La Follette wouldn't have run, and Wisconsin would have went to Calvin Coolidge. So Calvin Coolidge would have ran for second term instead of Herbert C. Hoover. So that has some very big effects. In fact, some of the biggest effects there is. Let's go to 1928. We had Herbert Hoover facing off against Alfred Smith. I could instead see Calvin Coolidge. Again, he's running for re-election. The Great Depression never happens. So this whole wave of liberals never ever even happens. Most likely, he would absolutely destroy him in a way that has never been done before. Now this is where it can get complicated, because if the Great Depression never really happened, then in 1932, the Democratic nominee and the Republican nominee are much more obvious. Like, as you can see, it was a very obvious election. So I'm going to go look at the 1932 Wikipedia page, and we can look there together. Here. So let's look at the primary. They had Al Smith. I don't think FDR would have run this election. I think Al Smith would be the Democratic nominee. Al Smith. And the Republican nominee, let's look here. It was Hoover and Curtis. Herbert Hoover. Then we have John Blaine. It was President Herbert Hoover, so we'd actually have to go back one when Herbert Hoover first runs, so to see real people. We could see Charles Curtis. We're going to go with Charles Curtis for this. Charles Curtis versus Al Smith. Al Smith, I think, would have won, but not like this. Not like this. Definitely not like this. Not like this at all. Not like this. It would actually be really close in some states. Smith would win Kentucky. He'd probably carry Illinois, Michigan, barely losing New York. He'd also probably carry Utah and Nevada. Maybe even by the way, I'm not that good at knowing old politics, so please correct me if I'm saying some not smart stuff right now. So Al Smith's elected president, and he will run for re-election. So we go to 1936. He has ran for re-election, and Alf Landon will... Oh wait, I didn't even show you guys the map. I didn't even show you guys that map. I'm so sorry. Basically, Al Smith won, barely. Hope you guys don't mind that. Al Smith here is running for re-election. Alf Landon could pretty much be, he could pretty much still be the nominee. Or we could have a Herbert Hoover running again. So we're going to go with a Herbert Hoover running again. Actually, no, I don't think so. We're going to go with Alf Landon. Alf Landon would, again, it wouldn't be this big of a landslide for him. Alf Landon would actually barely lose, I'd say. Like, very bare. Even carrying California, carrying Tennessee, he'd carry all of the Rust Belt. Even New York. Actually, no, not New York, because it's his home state. So this would be the final electoral map. Alf Landon barely losing. So here we are in 1936. We're going to have to head to 1940. Al Smith is retiring. He is retiring. FDR will now run for president. FDR is finally here. You all better be happy. Alf Landon will not run this time. It will not be Wendell L. Willkie. It will most likely be Robert Taft. Robert Taft will be the nominee. And his famous name will certainly help him get a few votes. FDR. Like, even though FDR was a strong candidate, it wasn't just by... But again, he is not that strong yet because, like, he hasn't been president yet, but his name will certainly help him. When Wisconsin, Michigan, he'd destroy Robert Taft. There's no discussion about that. So it would be this most likely. So then we go on from 1940 to 1944, where FDR is running for re-election. And FDR would most likely run for a third term, but not a fourth term, either way. So that's interesting, if you wanted to know what I'm going to do. Thomas Dewey would most likely be the nominee. Dewey would probably take Michigan, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, California. Oh, not Nevada. This would be the map. So then we move on. So as you can see, not landslide victories, which FDR is used to. In this alternate reality, he gets a comfortable 2 terms, but definitely not enough. So FDR is now running in 1948, and the nominee is Thomas Dewey again. FDR. And yes, these Strom Thurmonds, these Dixie Democrats, with more civil rights legislation on the plate, I'd say Georgia. I could also see Arkansas going to Thurmond. In this reality, I'd say FDR carries the state of New York again, like it's his home state. He would most likely carry Michigan. He would do pretty well this election. So now that FDR has served his 2 terms, we now go to 1952. Wait, sorry, 3 terms, not. So then World War II still happens, pretty much in the same order, same thing. Dwight Eisenhower is still a war hero in 1952. So he'd most likely destroy Adlai Stevenson. And then the same thing in 1956, because it's a rematch. The same thing would happen. Sorry, I mean in Wait, hold up, I'm confused. No, this is the 1956 election. This is the 1956 election. So that means this is him destroying. In 1960, the same thing. He destroys Adlai Stevenson. Now we go to 1964, where the famous John F. Kennedy, senator from Massachusetts, faces off against Eisenhower's VP, which is Richard M. Nixon. JFK versus Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon would most likely end up winning the election. He'd carry these states, these important key states, and that's how he'd win. This would be the final electoral map. Then we go into 1968, where Nixon again faces off against Bush. No, not Bush. What the heck? Bush. Where did I get Bush from? JFK is not assassinated. He would most likely go against JFK again. He was pressured by his grandfather into politics. His grandfather does not stop pressuring him. That's just not how it works. He'd carry Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. Richard Nixon, meanwhile, would carry these. We could see JFK unseating the incumbent president. I could see that with the bare victory in these states. Most likely, however, Nixon would win re-election. So now we know it is 1968. Nixon has served 2 terms, and JFK's VP LBJ will most likely run for president. LBJ will be going against the Republican candidates of Nelson Rockefeller. LBJ will most likely will stop Wallace from running. LBJ would absolutely destroy it in the South. He would do great in the South. However, Nelson Rockefeller would carry his home state of New York, handing him the presidency, which is 298. So, as you can see, this is a much more Republican-dominated time. Now we're in 1972. Nelson Rockefeller just was elected president, and we're going to have Nelson Rockefeller versus RFK. Rockefeller, actually, no, I think Ted Kennedy? Which one is it? Let me see. Which one is it, Kennedy or... Is it... I'm not sure if it's... I think it might be... I think it would be... Yeah, I definitely think it would be. I have no idea who it would be. But let me think. I think it's RFK. Not sure, though. Correct. Oh, I made him the Republican. No, Rockefeller is the Republican. George McGovern never comes to power. RFK would not get destroyed like this. It would most likely be a much closer election. More like this. The South stays blue. But in the end, these states stay just staying with him. So he barely loses there. Rockefeller wins re-election in 1972. RFK, I don't know if he would be assassinated or not. That's something I can't determine because that's the magic of history. So then RFK or Ted Kennedy, whichever, no, it's Ted Kennedy, right? Yeah, it's Ted Kennedy. Kennedy comes around. Carter's outside appeal thing does not work. He never rises in politics. Ford, meanwhile, would most likely not be the nominee. Instead, the Republicans would nominate would nominate Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Yes, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan would